Have you ever had an unexpected visitor at your home? Now, imagine if that visitor was a bear. We don't mean just once, but a recurring, uninvited guest with a particular fondness for your porch and a knack for sliding glass doors. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about the incredible yet slightly terrifying story of Tina Sayers and her family, who have been dealing with such visits for the past 4 years. Nestled in the heart of Lee County, Florida, the Sayers residence has become somewhat of a hotspot for bear visits. These aren't just harmless peeks from the driveway or the yard. These are full-on attempts by our furry friends to break into the house, testing out their skills on the sliding glass door. In fact, the enclosed porch seems to be their favorite spot, having been broken into several times. Now, if you're envisioning a cute Disney-esque scenario, let's dial it back a bit. These visits are far from charming. Imagine fixing your porch screen multiple times, only to have it torn apart again by a bear. Picture a morning where you're trapped inside your own home because there's a bear outside your door. Not so charming anymore, right? But that's exactly what the Sayers family has been living through. Tina, the matriarch, has been a resident of this home for 29 years. It's not just a house, it's a home filled with memories and moments, a place where she should feel safe and secure. But the frequent bear visits have cast a shadow over that safety. In her own words, Tina says, "I feel like we live in fear and we shouldn't be living like that. This is my home. I've been living here for 29 years." It's not just the regular visits that are alarming, but also the damage that these bears cause. Picture this, a peaceful home in Lee County, Florida, transformed into the favorite haunt of local bears. Not an occasional visit, mind you, but a regular, almost scheduled intrusion happening about once every 2 days. These are not just innocent wanderers, they are unwelcome intruders causing a significant amount of destruction. Breaking into the enclosed porch, they attempt time and time again to enter the house through the sliding glass door. It's a scene straight out of a slapstick comedy, if it wasn't so terrifyingly real. A screen door, repaired over and over, finally boarded up in a desperate attempt to keep the bears at bay. But it doesn't stop there. The bears, emboldened by their successful forays, do more than just damage property. They become a force of fear, a lurking presence that casts a shadow over the lives of the residents. Imagine waking up in the wee hours of the morning, ready to head out for work, only to find a bear standing guard on the other side of your door. The fear, the unease, the sheer incredulity of the situation is palpable. This is not a zoo or a wildlife park. This is a home, a place where one should feel safe, secure, and at ease. Tina Sayers, a resident of this house for 29 years, expresses the situation succinctly. "I feel like we live in fear, and we shouldn't be living like that." It's a sentiment echoed by her husband, trapped in his own home by the intimidating presence of a bear. The damage to the property is one thing, but the psychological toll of such encounters is another. Living in constant anticipation of the next bear visit, never knowing when you might come face to face with a large, potentially dangerous animal in your own home. There are times when Tina's husband can't even leave for work because he's trapped by a bear. A sentence that paints a vivid picture of an unusual predicament, a testament to the unwelcome intruders that have turned this family's life upside down. Faced with these challenges, Tina did what any of us would do. She sought help. In the face of these increasingly frequent bear visits, Tina Sayers, like any responsible citizen, turned to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the governing body tasked with the conservation and protection of Florida's diverse animal life. She reached out to them multiple times, hoping to find a solution, a way to coexist with the bears without constantly fearing for her family's safety. Yet despite these repeated calls for help, Tina's pleas fell on deaf ears. The help she so desperately sought was not forthcoming. It was as if her situation, her fear, her concerns for her family's safety were falling into a void, unheard and unanswered. The bears continued to visit, and Tina continued to live in fear, her home no longer feeling like the safe haven it once was. One can only imagine the frustration, the desperation that Tina must have felt. Here she was, a longtime resident of Lee County, living in her home for a whopping 29 years, now feeling like a prisoner in her own house. All she asked for was assistance, a way to manage these bear visits, to ensure that her husband could leave for work without fear of coming face to face with a bear in the early morning hours. And yet, despite her repeated attempts to get assistance from those whose job it is to manage and protect Florida's wildlife, Tina received no help, no advice, no reassurances, no solutions. Just silence. It's a situation that leaves one wondering, questioning. If the authorities dedicated to wildlife conservation and management don't step in to help in such situations, then who will? Despite multiple attempts, Tina has not received any assistance. Tina's story is not an isolated incident. In fact, across the Sunshine State, encounters with these fuzzy intruders are becoming all too common. Florida's bear population has been on the rise, and with it, so has their interaction with humans. You see, bears are quite the opportunists when it comes to food. When their natural habitats don't provide enough sustenance, they don't mind taking a stroll into our neighborhoods. They're not picky eaters either. From trash cans to pet food left outside, and yes, even the occasional dip into a cooler or fridge, these bears are becoming quite the urban foragers. Remember Tripod, the three-legged bear with a penchant for hard seltzers? His story is a clear example of how comfortable these creatures have become around humans. But it's not just about bears raiding mini fridges or knocking over trash cans. It's the fear and the anxiety that residents like Tina have to live with, never knowing when their home might be the next stop on a bear's food tour. And it's not just the damage to property that's concerning. There's a real danger when bears lose their fear of humans. When confronted, they may become aggressive, posing a risk not just to adults, but to children and pets as well. Despite repeated calls for assistance, residents feel they've been left to deal with this growing problem on their own. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has been inundated with similar complaints, but their resources are stretched thin. Education and awareness about how to coexist with these animals have become crucial. Bears in Florida are becoming an increasing concern for residents. And as we continue to encroach on their natural habitats, it's a problem that's unlikely to go away anytime soon. It's a delicate balance, preserving nature's beauty while ensuring the safety of residents. But it's a balance we must strive to achieve for the sake of both humans and bears alike. So, what does it mean to live with bears as your neighbors? Well, let's delve into that for a moment. Imagine waking up every other day, not to the chirping of birds or the sun shining through your window, but to the sight of a bear comfortably lounging on your porch, or worse, attempting to get inside your home. It's not exactly the morning greeting one would hope for. Living with bears brings a sense of fear and discomfort that is hard to comprehend until you've experienced it. It's not just about the occasional scare when you spot a bear in your backyard. It's about the constant state of high alert, the fear that grips you every time you step outside your home, and the uncertainty of not knowing when the next encounter will be. This fear extends beyond the homeowners. It reaches into the lives of their families, friends, and everyone who visits them. Imagine leaving for work early in the morning, only to find yourself trapped inside because there's a bear outside your door. Or having your children play in the yard, constantly worried about their safety. But it's more than just fear. Bears can pose real danger to humans. Though they usually avoid confrontation, bears can become aggressive if they feel threatened or if they're protecting their young. And in their search for food, bears are known to break into homes, causing property damage and potentially putting humans at risk. It's also important to remember that these bear encounters aren't just a nuisance for humans. They're also risky for the bears. Bears that become too comfortable around humans can become dependent on human food sources, which is harmful for their health and survival. And bears that pose a threat to human safety may need to be euthanized, a situation that no one wants. Living with bears is not just about the occasional scare, it's about a constant state of fear and uncertainty. It's about balancing the desire to live peacefully in our homes with the need to respect and protect the wildlife that shares our environment. So, as we continue to encroach on bear habitats, it's crucial that we find ways to coexist to ensure the safety of both humans and bears alike. But the issue is bigger than just one family's encounters with bears. It's a reflection of a broader concern that's getting harder to ignore. Wildlife encroachment into human habitats is becoming increasingly common. And it's not just about a few daring bears in Florida. This phenomenon is a worldwide issue affecting areas from the plains of Africa to the suburbs of North America. The root cause? Habitat loss. As we continue to expand our cities and towns, cutting down forests and converting green spaces into concrete jungles, we're essentially evicting these creatures from their homes. And just like us, they need food and shelter to survive. So they venture into our neighborhoods not out of choice but out of necessity. But what can we do about this? Well, there are several potential solutions and preventative measures. For one, implementing effective waste management systems can reduce the allure of human settlements for these animals. Bears, for instance, are often attracted by the smell of food waste, so secure trash cans and compost bins can go a long way in preventing these visits. Another solution is creating wildlife corridors, which are sections of land specifically designed to allow animals to traverse from one habitat to another safely. These corridors can help reduce encounters between humans and wildlife, ensuring that both can coexist without infringing on each other's spaces. Lastly, educating the public about wildlife behavior and how to react during encounters can also be beneficial. Many conflicts arise from fear and misunderstanding. If people know how to respond, it could prevent situations from escalating. As Tina's story shows, it's high time we address this issue and find a sustainable solution. As we wrap up Tina's story, we are left with some important questions. In the quiet, sunny corners of Lee County, Florida, a family has been living on the edge. For 4 unending years, they've had some unexpected and, quite frankly, unwelcome visitors: bears. With visits now happening about once every 2 days, the Sayers home has become an all-you-can-eat buffet for these large mammals. These encounters have escalated from minor property damage to posing a real danger to the family's safety. But it's not just about one family's struggle. This is a story shared by many homes across Florida. Bears, in their quest for food, have been known to wander into residential areas, rummaging through garages, entering homes, and even swiping a drink or two from the fridge. While it's easy to view these bears as the villains in this story, let's take a step back. These are wild animals, acting on their instinct to search for food. It's not their fault that their natural habitats are shrinking, that their food sources are dwindling, or that human settlements are encroaching upon their territories. This brings us to a critical juncture. There's a need for better wildlife management and conservation strategies. Yes, it's important to safeguard our homes, but it's equally important to protect these creatures and their habitats. After all, they were here long before us. In the grand scheme of things, we're all just trying to survive, aren't we? Humans and animals alike. It's about finding that delicate balance, that sweet spot of coexistence where we respect and accommodate each other's needs. It's about understanding that this planet is a shared home and we're all roommates whether we like it or not. So as we delve into these issues, let's not just passively consume this information. Let's engage with it. Let's ponder over how we can contribute to this balance. Can we be more mindful of the spaces we occupy and the impact we have? Can we lobby for better wildlife management policies? Can we educate others about the importance of coexistence? After all, every little effort counts. And who knows? Your thoughtful actions today might just save a bear tomorrow, or even a human life. Remember, the next time you hear a noise in your backyard, it might just be an unexpected visitor.